Hey there, so this is just going to be another little video just to help get you guys over the finish line for the final review of Project 3. In the last video, we picked our section cut lines using the clipping plane, uh, then some regular planes to do our little trims, and then we made 2D. Since then, we discussed different methods for making this a little bit more user-friendly. And one of those features would be to Boolean union your building model for your section cut drawings. This way you don't have as many stray lines. So let's just get rid of some of these section cut planes. And then if your model is completely aligned, then this shouldn't be too complicated. Let's see if it'll work for me. Boolean union, select the objects, type in Boolean union, and it looks like it failed. So we just need to go one at a time and figure out where our failed model is. All right, just keep trying to combine it until we find the source of the failure. And sometimes it's just that it can't really process the geometry, so we'll see what happens. It looks like it actually figured out what the problem was for this model, um, right here. All right, and then Boolean union. All right, so this little guy, he doesn't belong here. All right, so let's just delete that. No, that was actually a pretty simple reason to fail. So Boolean union. All right, and then one last piece right here. Great. So it just so happened that, the Boolean union turned this into the purple layer. That's fine. It doesn't exactly matter for these section cut drawings. This works just same. So I'm gonna make sure I'm still on the section guide layer, and I'm just gonna continue, or I'm just gonna repeat copy the planes, just paste it here. Then I'm gonna duplicate this Boolean union file, this one solid mass with all of these planes. All right, and duplicate it. So I'm just gonna select Alt and the gumball arrow, copy it over 6 times because I have 6 section cuts to make. And, you know, same as the last time. If you have already finished this step, you can just, fast forward. I'm just gonna go through it, make sure we're all on the same page. And again, feel free to fast forward. No reason to stay on this if you don't need to be here. I'm just selecting the planes I don't need for the cuts and deleting them. All right, I know that this one I'm going to rotate so that I have a better, depth of the section cut. All right, and yeah, so I'm going to select my cutting tools and I'm going to try to just do this in one sweep. I'm going to do a quick control save just to make sure if this does crash my computer, I have a backup version. All right, so I selected my planes. Now I'm going to type in trim and I'm going to trim away the parts that I don't want to see. All right, I actually think this should have been rotated. Let me see. Yeah, I will rotate this one too. So let's just rotate this just like I did the other one. All right, trim. Click my selection planes, TRIM, trim. Okay, great. So now I'm going to select the objects that I just trimmed, the Boolean objects, the Boolean unioned object, sorry, and type in trim. And now I'm going to trim the plane away. All right, in most cases, this should be pretty seamless. I'm sure some of you, even me, I'm sure that some of these cuts aren't perfect. Yeah, so like this should have cut an opening right here, and it did not. But that looks like the only issue. All right, we're gonna just check it over here. That looks like it captured nice and cleanly. All right, same here. Okay, we got some floating object. Okay. All right, so that was pretty successful. So now all I need to do is rotate these two section cuts so that they face same direction. Yeah, okay, good. I'll space these out a little bit more before I do the make 2D. All right, so now I have my objects. I'm just switching to the desired view. And it's a little confusing because I still have the old model. So what I'm going to do is go to shaded and just look at them all at the same time. Make sure that what I'm looking at checks out. What I could also do is select all these objects and move it completely over to the side. So I know that this is the right view and this is the front. So my goal is to use the front view. Got it. So now selecting all these objects that I just created, we're going to double click in my front viewport, zoom selected, and then make 2D. I'm going to turn off hidden lines, but I would like to keep the scene silhouette. You see in this little icon that it gives it a little boundary, and I think that that's a nice addition. So I'm going to press OK. And let me just switch back to my top view. Okay, and we see we now have 6 section cuts, very limited lines to edit. It looks like I have some missing geometry here, so we'll have to fill that in. Some of you might have experienced that as well. Sometimes it comes from just asking too much to be done at once. So what I might need to do is go in there and do it one by one, at least for these long sections. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah, so it's a more complete section cut, I suppose. The only thing is that we have some overlapping lines here. So we don't actually need those, but that's fine. Any of these horizontals that are just, a result of being stacked, we're gonna ditch. And just to be safe, what you can do first, make sure you have the right section cut line. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna go copy. Actually, I'm gonna select both of these cut planes, then type in copy, base point to base point. I'll group those, rotate 3D. All right, and see that I have, something interesting going on here, but that's actually a line in the background that I didn't initially notice. So if I'm just typing in zoom and I could draw a little window to see what's in there. All right, and so this little curve right here is that line. All right, so that makes sense. And this actually helps me, figure out what's supposed to be seen and what's not supposed to be seen. So what I can do as well is dupe face border, select the object that I want to dupe, right click, join these edges. All right, it looks like they're already joined. Yep, perfect. And what I'm going to do is create a new layer within my make 2D lines. And that's just going to be the section cut boundary. All right. And I'll make that a different color. I don't think I have pink in this project yet, so that will make it nice and unique. Now that I have those lines selected, I'm just going to click on the new layer that I made, right click it, and then change objects to layer. All right, so now I can delete this plane, and I know exactly where my boundaries are. Okay? What we'll also have to do is figure out which lines are in the background, off into the distance, because that will determine our different line weights. So what you can do, right now or later on, it's your choice, but you should have different layers for the different line weights. So you can have a fine line layer, because that's going to be the lightest line when you export this to PDF. But then you can also make a really bold line. So I'm going to call this one fine detail line. That'll be its own. I'll just use different shades of pink maybe for this. All right. Maybe I'll start from the back. Just, keep it consistent. All right. And then I'll have a light line. Medium line. Again, I'm just changing the color of the viewport, you know, layer settings. And then I'm going to add a dark line. All right, so those are actually pretty close together, so maybe that's not the best bet. I'll make it a little bit deeper. All right, just make sure that whatever you choose, you can understand it when you're working in Rhino. All right, so this is my range from here to here for my line weights. I'm also going to create a layer called hidden line, just in case you have some overlapping elements. And so that I'm going to make like this. All right, so now I have 5 different types of lines, and then I also have my section cut boundary, which should be its own. So that's 6. All right, so select all of these, and then rather than the square, go to the right and click the diamond shape and change that print color from, matching the layer line type to black. Okay. For some of you, you might want your fine line detail to be a dark gray so that it disappears a little bit better into the image, and you might want to do that with the hidden line as well, make it a dark gray. The next step is to change the line type. So for my hidden line, I just clicked line type and it's currently on continuous. I want to click continuous, and then you get this select line type window. I'm going to change that to hidden. Okay. And next step is to do the print width. And so this is our line thickness, or our line weight. So for my section cut boundary, I want that to be the boldest line weight. So I'm going to change it from default to, let's just say, 1.2. Okay. So everything else from that is going to be less. The lightest line that I have is going to be this fine detail line, and I'm going to choose hairline for that. Okay. Everything else just gets gradually, heavier that goes up. So I'm choosing, and this is something that's subjected to change based on all of your drawings. These are just, generic sizes that I'm pulling out. Maybe my dark line I make one, size 1. Maybe the medium line I'll actually do 0.7, and the light line I'll do 0.35. Okay, so we can test that out later when we do a test sample, but the goal right now is to figure out which of these lines are the light lines, which of them are the dark or medium lines. All right, the best way to do that is going back and forth to the model itself. I know that there's not very much going on here, but because I'm working with a curve, it's a little bit more complicated. So what I might do is choose the midline for this top portion. And I'll choose the lightest line for this segment right here. And then everything else, I'll probably just do the midline. Um, well, let's see how that works. Changing back to the top view, zoom the selection. And again, I said that this top line up here was going to be a medium line. So I'm just double clicking into the medium line layer, typing in polyline, and I'm just tracing it. All right. So if I turned off this layer line, I guess this is what we see. All right. So we have our medium line. Then I'll go to the light line. And color in the rest. And it doesn't hurt to do a quick little fact check. All right, up here, medium, this line, light, this line over here. Let's see. Let's just verify. We'll make this medium, that light, and that's it. Okay. All right, so in my light line layer, because these are just, plain old rectangles, I can draw a rectangle right then and there, then go back to my medium line, repeat, draw a rectangle right here. And then for my fine line details, that's what I'll do inside each of these spaces over here. You can actually just take these lines and change them to that layer. This one I know is more of a light line because it's so close to the section cut. So I'm going to change that to the light line layer. And yeah. So everything else we can basically turn off so we know that it's in layer 2. So we're going to go over here and we're going to turn off layer 2. All right, and we know that we have this full object. Copy, and we'll turn layer 2 back on. And that's that. So when it comes time to export this section cut, what I want to do first is save my view capture from this object. So some of you are going to choose to use the Arctic view. I believe ray traced is also pretty nice. Yeah, because that looks more like a little rendering. So if you have the ray traced option in Rhino, feel free to use that. And then we also have the rendered view. All right, so, whatever you choose to use, just make sure that you use it for all of your drawings. Which one do I want? I think I clicked the wrong one. Yeah, that's not the, all right. I'll just keep Arctic for right now. And just for clarity, I know some of you have some very complex models, so it might be beneficial for you to take this line or the section guide layer, which is located, let's see. Yeah. So one of these two orange layers is where that plane is. And what we're going to do is under material, we're going to change that material type to a color. So I might just make it a dark gray just so that it could be seen better. And then if I went to the rendered view, that actually did not work. Oh, okay, because those were the make 2Ds, sorry. This is the one that I was supposed to change. All right, just make sure you pick the right layer. That's okay. And now we see that dark gray was transferred into the Arctic view because we applied a material. All right, if you want it to just be black for contrast for this, then that's totally fine as well. All right, so I'm gonna do view capture to file, just like the previous projects. I'm gonna use a transparent background, and I'm just gonna press OK. Project 3 tutorial, long section. All right, now I'm gonna go back into my top view, and I'm gonna type in picture, and I'm going to bring back that image that we just made. All right, and this might help you, determine which line weights go where. Which is, the point of this, but some of you, the model that I prepared for this tutorial, it's rather simple, so this is not exactly necessary. But, I want you all to just be aware of some different workarounds for getting this done. All right, simple scale. And I see all the important lines were captured. So this is ready to go. All right, so you don't need to, you should turn off this image when you're doing your rendering, or I'm sorry, when you're extracting your line weights. So what I'm going to type in is just hide right now. And I'm going to take this curve and I'm going to type in hatch. And I'm going to choose a type of hatch. You see there are some preset options at the top. So some of you might want to use a striped hatch. And you might want to rotate it 45 degrees so that it's, a cross hatch. But you'll see what I should have done was select this line and this line. Great. So now that worked. So again, if I wanted to do a 45-degree crosshatch, this is how one would do that. All right, and then you would choose the color, display color, and I'll make that black. All right, I'll just say okay. And everything else, we know that our display color is, is set up here. So it's either black or gray. I'm gonna take this same curve and do the same thing just because, again, we're cutting through that. That was one of our initial cut planes. All right, and now I have this object. I'm going to add a quick little dimension line just to make sure that this is the right size, which it is. I know that it's 2 feet. This dimension stringer is huge, but that's just my dimension settings that I'm in right now. If this was, yeah, not really essential for you to change at this point, but yeah, that's okay. So I know the size that it is, zoom selected. Make sure I'm looking at what I need to. I see that I actually have a stray line over here that should be completely straight. So I'm going to correct that by clicking my control point and just moving that right on over to this vertical line. The perpendicular intersection. Okay. All right. And you'll see that layering these things becomes a lot more important. So this light line in the background needs to be beneath this medium line right here. Okay. What I might actually do is take this medium line and just turn it into a dark line just to differentiate a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. So now selecting this, zoom selected, make sure it's front and center, file, export selected, just like all of our previous projects. And we're going to do an export as PDF. And I'm going to label it project 3, long section, cut lines. Example, make sure I'm in the correct folder. Okay. And because this is a 2 foot long drawing, I need to make sure that the appropriate page is selected for this. So 17 times 2, we know, is 34. So having an ARC D size paper will do the trick. I'm going to rotate it to landscape so that it's fully captured. My view and output scale, I'm going to change it to extents. It's not going to be scaled to fit. This is going to be a 1-to-1 scale because I already have it modeled in as 2 feet. If you are working in the full 192 by 64, all you need to do is change the scale to 1/8 of an inch equals a foot because that's our working scale. I just automatically went into the drawings with this 1/8 inch. Okay, so you see how it fits on the page, but then what you're also seeing is that I actually have a few stray orange lines. So that means I need to either turn off those layers or delete those layers. But I'm going to extract this for right now just so we can see the difference. All right, and now what I'm going to do is turn off these extra lines that I should not be looking at. Okay, nothing should be reading as orange in my final export. So let's do that again. I turned off those orange section guide layers. Export selected. We'll call it example. Let's do it example 1 because I didn't label that the last time around. All right, and you see I completely turned off those colorful lines that did not belong. And it looks like I don't have any other issues, but you never know. We're just going to export it. And then in the InDesign file, we'll open that on up. When we import this image, it should be to its perfect scale. And the only thing that we'll have to adjust in InDesign is our image. All right, so let's just open. Oh, I just opened the wrong file. It's fine. It's a good moment to encourage you guys to download the right file from Miro. So let's make sure that loads. I think I'm stuck in project 2, so give that a second to think. And go to Miro, change it to project 3. All right, I'm just gonna download this, make sure I don't know why this is here twice. Weird. Um, yeah, just source it and download. All right, I'm then gonna open that file. And you all should already have this because you've been working in this file since the very start of project 3. I obviously don't have it because it's a new tutorial. But I'm gonna go straight to my uh longitudinal drawings. So let's see, this is my circulation. All right, good. So I'm on page, let me look, I'm on page 9. So that's where I'm gonna bring this section cut into. So I'm gonna do a quick little Control D. And I know that it is in the tutorials folder, project 3. Yep. Let me actually resave that view without the black. I'm going to turn these layers back on. And I'm going to make this. I'll make it white. Just changing it back to the original. All right, good. So view capture, just like we did before. Except this time, this is the file that's going directly into InDesign. All right. Just, make sure you can find your files. Control D. Again, we're gonna go here. All right. So one of the tricks that I've been going over with you all is to make sure that you are working in the right scaled image. What you could do is bring your frame directly to the sides of your object. And let me just hide this. Controls, yeah. All right, so clicking in here, what I want to do is make sure that the width of this frame is, actually the width of the object. So let's see, I'm going to go into the transform window. Okay, the properties window, sorry. And the width is only 16 inches. So I need the width to be 24 inches so that I know that this is truly to scale. And then what I'm going to do is just bring this out to line up to that new frame. So I'm grabbing the inner picture corners and I'm just stretching it to the edge. All right, what you can also do to avoid having to do this is trim the file in Photoshop before bringing it into InDesign. But it's not essential. This is still fine. It shouldn't take very long. All right, and yeah, I'm gonna make sure that the edge of this file aligns with the edge of my frame. All right, and then I'm going to copy this. Remember to leave it overhanging from the page layout because we're gonna overlap it when we do our pinup. All right, and then what we want to do is just make sure with adding an extra frame that we are totally aligned. All right, that's pretty close here, but our image should go up a little bit further. Okay, good. All right, so now we have a nice little equal distance. And if you want it to be a little bit more controlling of that, what you can also do is just crop the frame exactly like we did horizontally. Copy that, copy this, and just bring it to a line. Okay. And at this point, once you know that you have both halves of the drawing, you can just trim that frame back to the edge of the paper. Okay. Some of you might not want your image to be this low, so feel free to center it on the page. Just make sure that whatever you do to one side, you do to the other, since these have to be a very clean overlap. All right, next step is to import the line drawing. Control D for import. And we know that we saved it as a PDF. Thought I saved it as, I thought I saved it in this folder, but let's just double check. I'll do that again. Export selected. To project 3. All right, so I should have put it in the tutorials folder. Oh, and I have to turn off those layers again. All right, take again, file, export selected. Previous one, copy that name, title, and we'll just call this number 2. Okay. Quick little fix. Looks exactly like what we need. Print. And now we will just import it. All right. You should not have to scale anything. It should just work directly because we already worked in the scaled object. And what you also need to do is bring this image to the front. So feel free to increase the quality of the display by right-clicking the image or the line drawing, going down to display performance and then clicking high quality display, just so we can see the line weights a little bit better. And then do not forget to organize your layers. So the line drawings here should be on the line drawings there. All right, when I made this initial template, I only showed section lines and section image. You can delete the word long because I did not make a short section image. But it's not essential. No one's gonna really look at these layers. It's just important to make sure that you're differentiating layers so that the lines are layered on top of the image itself. All right, so this image has to be moved down to the correct section image file, and now we see a proper overlap. All right, same back here. Right now it's on the text file, but it should not be. It should be in the section image. Okay, and then I'm gonna again copy this drawing, paste this drawing, and then place it right over the image. All right, just try and get it as close as you can. The closer, the better, because then it's going to be a better quality image, and you'll get graded better on it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I expect to see for the section cut. I do want to see your scale figures, which the scale figures are also located in the Miro board. Whoops. Okay. And so yeah, just download the little scale figures if you haven't already, and just drop them in. All right, if you already brought your drawings in, but you didn't bring in your scale figures, that's fine. It's very easy to add. And then just reload the drawing. Maybe this is a good example as well for how to reload an image in InDesign. So let's just fact check ourselves. We know that each of these people should be, no one should be too much taller than 6 feet. But since we're working a 1/8 inch scale, our people should be no more than 0.75 inches. All right, and they are no more than 0.75 inches. So I'm going to take the scale figures layer and I can leave it as that, color uh, for the layer organization, but I need to make sure that my printing color is black, which it is. So that's great. And I'm going to make sure that they are hairline. So very light because there's, quite a bit of detail in these scale figures. And I'm just going to start integrating them. So copy, place right there. All right, some of you might want to make these solid lines, which is totally fine. You could import different images. You can, make your own scale figures. You can get a little artistic with it. So, one way to make a scale figure is, just getting the general proportions right. So if we know the shoulders are somewhat over here, right, and that could count as a little scale figure. Just make sure you close curve and then give them a little bit of a hatch. All right, but this time it should be a solid. All right, but very, very basic little shadow type of figure. But using these scale figures is totally fine as well. All right, so I'm gonna drop in a little bit more. I'll drop in this person. And let's see. I'll drop this person in as well. And both of these people could just be right under the bridge. All right, so we can export this again. So zoom selected, file export selected, and I'm going to save directly over this previous file. So don't rename it, just click on the old PDF folder, the old PDF file that you know that you imported for your line drawings. It's going to ask you, do you want to replace it? Yes, you do. All right, you see in this little preview, I have scale figures, print. And now in InDesign, you'll notice that the image has a little triangle next to it. So when you look at the links, that means that here, when you hover over it, it says modify, double click to update. So you can, click it here, or you can click it in your links platform to let it update. All right. So now we see that our people were fully brought in and ready to rumble. All right. So we can do a quick little preview, Control Shift, and see how the people are sitting. Okay. So remember in these templates, make sure that you change your student name at the bottom. Make sure that you have some line weight depth. Some of you are going to make your section cuts all solid colors, and that's totally fine too. In this example, I just showed you this diagonal line just because that's one of the many options that you can use for hatch. But I think just for simplicity, only choose diagonal lines or a solid. The solid color can be gray, it could be white, it could be black, just as long as there's contrast. Okay. So, yep, just do that with all of the sections. So there's 6 sections in total. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks.